Hey family, it's Tasha MAMABEAR Prepping. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel where we just talk about emergency preparedness. We talk about food preservation, self-sufficiency, just everything to get ready for any type of events, emergency preparedness events, things that might happen to you and your family. And really we just talk about what we do over here, and hopefully that sparks some ideas for you and yours. So today, let's get into it. Let's take a drink. Super good today. It's nice and kind of gloomy today, a little bit of rain. So we're relaxing. So let's get into it. It's Monday, right? Me and my sister, lately we've been getting into a lot of food preservation, making sure we have the right books in our lives, right? The right recipes. We have a variety of things. We have options of things. Of course, you know, me and my family, as far as our journey of preservation, right? Preservatives, and buying stuff that's not full of preservatives, it's not pre-made. And I'm just going to keep it real. One of our favorites for me for many years to stockpile and to make for us to eat was rice-a-roni. In the box, the little box, right? Rice-a-roni, it's rice, it's got some pasta, got some flavoring, you got chicken flavor, you got beef flavor, whatever, right? My family absolutely loves it, and it makes quite a bit. That little box, right, if you know what I'm talking about, makes quite a bit, and makes a nice little pot, makes a nice base for something, for adding some kind of meat. And so we've been huge fans. But of course, like everything else, as we're reading, as we're learning, that box is full of preservatives. It's full of all types of stuff. And so it's like, all right, maybe not so good for us, you know. And as we're getting to stockpiling more real items, real food, right? Not that there's not real food, but real food, whole foods, whole ingredients that you would then make and cook. Imagine that, to make a meal. So we've come across a couple books. First one is Meals in a Jar Made Easy. And I'll put this in the link. I'll link this in the box below. And then just recently I got this one, Meals in a Jar, this one. Now, I'm doing a recipe from this book today. We have this book first, and there is a ton of meals in a jar. So basically what these recipes are is, it is meals in a jar. Obviously sounds like, okay, I do a meal in a jar all the time. I pressure can stew, I do all this stuff. But I love this idea because this is freeze-dried ingredients or dried ingredients, dehydrated, freeze-dried, dried ingredients. And what this author has done, what she has done, is she's putting together recipes that she has, of all dry ingredients that she puts in jars. And what's cool for people who prepare, try to stockpile, obviously say you come across something you like, you want to do it in a big batch. And so she does that for you. And so let's just take, for example, and I love this book because it has breakfast stuff, it has desserts, it has by the meat type. Hey, here's a bunch of recipes for beef, here's a bunch of recipes for chicken, here's a bunch of recipes for pork, whatever it is you're trying to make. And she'll show you the picture of what her jar looked like. And then on the other page, it's going to show you the bulk batch shopping list. So for bulk, to make, it literally says 10 to 11 quarts. We made 11, me and my sister. And it will tell you in bulk the freeze-dried or dried ingredients that you need to be able to make 10 to 11 jars. So off the top, I love that because you can do, it's just like canning, right? You can do a recipe, you can can it, and then you have a bunch of jars, several jars. And we're going to talk specifically about this jar. We made it, we ate it, how much it was, but we did this recipe. And then off to the side, it obviously says once you buy the batch stuff, it's going to tell you how much to put in each jar. So in theory, you could do it either way. You could buy the batch stuff, make the 10 to 11, or let's say you just wanted to make a couple. If you have the items in a smaller batch or already had them or kept them in smaller jars, whatever, you could then just say, okay, I'm going to do 2 of these, for example. So an example for this, beef rice-a-roni. For example, her batch list, it's going to take 1 number 10 can of the freeze-dried ground beef. It's going to take 1 pantry can of the beef bouillon, 1 pantry can of the freeze-dried onions, 22 cups of white rice, 11 cups of fine egg noodle pasta, parsley, onion powder, garlic powder, dried thyme, right? And then it will proceed to tell you how much you're going to put in each jar. It's so easy. You just fill it up. We had all the jars there, sanitized, ready to go, dry. Okay, super dry. Put the ingredients in. We put an oxygen absorber in there, but by all means, like this stuff is dried. You literally could just put the top on it and have it be just tight, right? What am I trying to say? Airtight, right? Would be fine. But we put an oxygen absorber in there, and then you could suck out the air out of the jar as well. You know, it's just to make your ingredients last longer, but it's all dried stuff. I love this idea too, because if there was an ingredient in there that you just weren't caring for, you could just omit it, not have it. Or let's say you're like, oh, I want to put, I don't know, some corn in there. You could do it. Now, obviously her recipe is going to have the jar for the most part full, but you can play around with it. For example, each jar had 2 cups of rice. There's 2 cups of rice, you guys, in this quart-sized jar. So you could cut that down and say, okay, I'm only going to do a cup, or I'm only going to do a cup and a half, so that you had room to do some other sort of ingredients. What are you growling at? I'm doing a video, bro. The dog's growling. So you can play around with it, right? You can omit if there's something that you really don't want, or you can add to. All you have to remember is that it has to be completely dry products, has to be freeze-dried products, dehydrated type products, and or powders, that type of thing. Max. He just doesn't stop once he starts going, you guys. So I absolutely love it. She also has little tags on the back. There's a website you can go to and get the tags. You can put on the front, and it will tell you what it is, what's in it, and how to prepare it basically. And if you've ever made rice-a-roni, super easy. You get some butter. Obviously, if we're prepared, we have some kind of powder butter, or we have canned butter on the shelf already. You put a little bit of butter in the pan. You brown the ingredients, right? So you're going to pour the whole jar in, brown it up. Once it's all browned up, you're going to add your liquid. She did call, but this was just like regular rice-a-roni. Regular rice-a-roni called for a certain amount of water or liquid. And I always ended up using more. And same thing in this thing. They say a certain amount of water, and I ended up using more. And of course, remember, it has some bouillon in it, but you could add stock if you were trying to cut down your water as well, okay? This was delicious, easy to cook, cooked up, easy, right? Bring it to a boil, take it down to a simmer, cook it up until the rice and everything was done, mixed it up. We put it in bowls. I put a little bit of soy sauce on mine, to die for. I think hubby had an egg with his, to die for. Okay, so super, super delicious, super flavorful. I love the fact that seasonings, the meat, the everything is in here, right? And there's so many recipes. So once me and my sister cracked into the whole freeze-dried meal in a jar, there's this book. We found this other book. There's several other books. You can go on their websites where they have even more recipes. You don't have to put it in a jar. All this stuff could be put into a mylar and vac sealed that way, or a bag vac sealed that way. So you're not limited on what you have to do, okay, and how you have to keep it. And so very easy. Would be easy to do smaller packs for hikes and for bug out bags and for different totes and different locations. And caches, caches to me have to have no metal, no anything, so that people can't find stuff with a metal detector. And so, there's other ways that you can do that. To me, having a jar, having a vac sealer, and then having a plastic lid on it would be fine, would be perfect, okay? Putting it in regular bags, vac sealing it, right? There's other things that you can do, lots of variety. Absolutely love this. And this first recipe that we did, this is the first one, it is absolutely delicious, right? I literally wouldn't change. The only change for me personally would probably be put another half a cup of noodles and take out a half a cup of rice. This bad boy right here, okay? So it was a night, it was just me, hubby, and our 13-year-old. And we're like, we're gonna make it. And I already knew, it being a quart size, that I could feed several people. It says the jar will feed 6 to 8 people. So I was like, okay, let's see. We made it. Do you know me, us 3, we ate it for 3 days straight. First of all, we never, just so you know, we eat leftovers, but we never eat leftovers on the 3rd day. I mean, maybe hubby does, because, he will eat anything. But the 3rd day, all of us, and it was just as good the first day. Like, that is like a phenomenon. That does not happen, right? And so for it to be that good, be good the 2nd day, be good the 3rd day. I'm just putting a little bit of soy sauce on mine, and it is delicious, right? It made such a big pot. I was like, wow, me, my sister, or my family, my sister, her boys, we could have all ate on this for sure for a night. If we rationed it and spread it out against a few more people, yes, absolutely. So an amazing Very, very happy, super excited to do some more. Some other recipes that we're going to be doing next, macaroni and cheese and finessing that. I found a few recipes, but you know, everybody's really picky about the macaroni and cheese. And so we have to really get the right cheeses. Do we use, you know, freeze-dried real cheese? Do we use some powder? Do we, you know, how do you mix and match that? So we found that that's my next biggest project, is trying to find the mac and cheese that I like. There is a cheeseburger soup one in here I want to do. There's a stroganoff that I want to do in here. But there's several different things. There's a fruit smoothie one. Now, obviously smoothie, it looked delicious, right? And at first I'm like, yeah, but grid down, you know, how are you blending that, right? And maybe you have some sort of powder and you're able to blend it and you can still get a smoothie out of it. But imagine, it is a jar full of freeze-dried fruits, okay, and some vegetables. And so at a minimum of this freeze-dried, you just hydrate it and eat that fruit and eat those vegetables, or feed them to chickens or whatever, right? So just another amazing way to preserve food for you and possibly even for animals, okay? So I love this idea. Speaking of animals, another idea of mine is doing this for animals. You know, we talk about animals, pets, preserving food for them, keeping food for them, canning recipes. And I just realized that a dehydrated version of dog food would be absolutely amazing. And you're going to get more in the jar because it is dehydrated, because it is freeze dried. You're going to get so much more in it packed in a jar, as if, unless, you know, outside of it being actually fully cooked, you would need several jars. And so for space and stuff, I just feel like I found, you know, a hidden gem in doing this. Now, the only difficult thing that I would say is, when they talk about Thrive on here a lot, right? But you don't have to use Thrive. You could use any dehydrated company, right? And obviously, dehydrated food and number 10 cans of food is expensive. And so having to buy all that in bulk to then make these recipes, does it work for your budget? Does it not? So you would have to work with that. What's cool about Thrive is they do have a number 10 can, and they have what's called pantry cans. So if you find you a consultant that has Thrive, you know, and it says Pantry Can in here, they're talking about the small one, but you can in theory buy, let's say it's a recipe that has number 10 can, but you're not going to make the 10 to 11 cases. You could just get smaller portions of the food and make it that way. Again, it's dried food. You have pasta in your house, you have rice in your house, so maybe you're just buying your favorite freeze-dried meat, right? And then you're getting some spices and some vegetables that you like. Maybe you dehydrated the vegetables from yourself. Maybe you had freezer vegetables, you know, the mixed greens, the mixed peas and carrots, or maybe you had corn or whatever, and you dehydrated, and you can put that all in here, okay? So there's a lot of stuff you can do. Maybe you're growing carrots and you want to dehydrate some carrots. You want to buy some freeze-dried beef cubes or beef, have some beef in here, you know, have some potato flakes, or potatoes that are dehydrated, freeze-dried potatoes. So there's some other stuff you can do from dried ingredients in your house, or stuff that you can freeze dry if you have a freeze dryer, but also, and that's another way you really get ahead of this, is if you can budget and get that freeze dryer, which is, again, still a big project for us. That's a big purchase for us. That's something we plan to do. But then you could freeze dry that stuff and then have that stuff and figure out, okay, I'm gonna plan a meal around the meat, let's say, that I freeze dried. So amazing. Obviously lighter than a preserved jar. If this breaks, falls off the shelf, obviously this is easier to clean up than, say, you know, a pressure can jar of beef stew, for example. Let's just keep it clear. And I'll just keep it 100. You know, this versus a jar the same size of a let's say beef stew. This was like 3 times the food, you guys, that you're fitting in this jar that goes in that pan. And so when you think about your community, you think about the people that you're going to be with and trying to feed everybody, and not break the bank on all the stuff. I mean, this is a bona fide meal for a group of 6 to 8 people are going to eat well on this. And that's crazy to think, right? You're like, there's no way, but because it is, cram-packed in here, it's smaller, right? It's dehydrated. It's doing a lot of the work for you, and it's getting a lot more in the jar than, say, just a regular pressurized product. Okay, so this is my new thing. From time to time, you know, I'm not going to do a ton of videos, but I might, you know, if I come across a favorite, share it with you guys. You guys are always asking me for recipes. You're asking me to cook, and I'm not really one to just do a cooking video. It's not really my thing. I'm just not really into it. And so this might be a way that I can share from time to time some different things. This is a banger. This is a knock it out of the park. Must do it. Must try it if you get this. What's good too is you could just do a jar and try it. You don't have to do the 10 to 8. But again, her shopping list is in bulk. So you've got to obviously do some math and figure out how you're going to do it. But it can be done. And then for me, she has the labels that you could tape to the outside, but I want to just always keep my jars as pristine as possible for reuse. And so I would probably either cut it out and fold it and put it inside the jar up towards the top near the oxygen absorber. Or I just on the top just said May 23, I said beef rice-a-roni, I said 6.5 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of butter. And then obviously I'm somebody who cooks those, so that's all I had to write on the top to understand what I'm doing. I know that I'm putting 2 tablespoons, you know, I've made rice-a-roni enough. I know I'm putting the butter in, I'm throwing in all the product to, you know, brown it up, and then I'm adding the liquid, I'm bringing it to a boil, then I'm taking it down to a simmer, cooking it up. So I kind of already know that, right? So depending on what it is you're making, how complicated it is, you're going to determine if you need to get the little thing, cut it out. And then obviously what happens if I'm not here, right? My family might not understand that. And so cutting out the little thing, but I would probably put it inside versus, and you could put it like where you could see it if you wanted before you put the stuff in, but I would probably just fold it at the top. And so I open it and the directions are right at the top, take them out and do what I got to do. But, I don't know, huge fan. We're going to see how this goes, how this works. We're definitely going to be doing a lot more of these projects. My sister actually already did another, dry product. I think she did like a blondie brownie mix type recipe. So she had a jar and she filled it with a recipe for these blondie recipes, right? Some kind of baked goods. The jar, first of all, looks beautiful, and it's literally a dessert in a jar ready to go, right? So I don't know, huge fan. Let me know. I would love to hear in the comments below any of you that have tried dry recipes. My sister actually pointed out that one of my favorite channels of all time, Homestead Corner, that she has a video of this stuff, because once we started researching, we started trying to find more books. We were like, this is the thing. And she actually came across a video from Homestead Corner, my girl, and she had a video of like, I think 3 or 4 recipes. So I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it when I have time because I love her. And 2, I'm super excited about getting more recipes in a jar of dried product. Absolutely a huge fan. So let me know those of you guys that have been doing this already, was on game for a while and you've been loving it, you've been doing it, and your thoughts about how it's working out for you and your family. So I hope you guys are well. I hope you guys, your week starts off good, and that you get through this Monday, whether it's a good Monday or a bad Monday for you. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in the next video. Take care. Bye.